I think this next graph is a good illustration of that. Here the line shows the percentage of Scottish pupils gaining 5 good grades. That includes English and maths by the time that they end compulsory education in S4. I think when I say 5 good grades, this is the standard grade 1 to 3, intermediate 2 and intermediate 1 at A. And that's the accepted equivalent of the government's measure down south, which is English GCSE grades A to C. And these are government statistics. They're collected for the Office for National Statistics by the Scottish Government, but strangely they're unpublished in Scotland. And I think they're a good measure because, as I say, they include all pupils and English and maths, so it's very difficult to use weaker subjects or easier subjects to inflate performance. And I think what it shows is the bars are spending per pupil, and that's clearly gone up massively in the last 10 years or so, and performance has flatlined. So I think it shows clearly that educational performance has not been affected by the large amounts of extra money which has been put into it. So where are we going wrong? I think top-down performance management, which is characterised by targets, by best value, is the main policy tool that's been used to improve public services and deliver value for money in Scotland. The aim is high uniform standards, yet standards throughout Scotland are variable, and we still trail other countries despite extra spending. So the question is, why? I think there are clear limits to the target approach, as there is no incentive to go beyond the target or for continuous improvement. At the same time, it's impossible for those at the centre to have the knowledge necessary to direct services effectively and appropriately for all parts of the country, due to the complex nature of these services. Targets inevitably focus attention on some aspects of a service, ignoring others, which may be just as important, and this distorts priorities. Targets also require a large bureaucracy to monitor and administer them, which is not the best use of available resources. And equally, centrally directed services encourage uniformity and are less likely to lead to the innovation necessary to raise standards. So I want to look briefly at the likely future economic context. It's obviously difficult to know exactly how much the Scottish budget is going to be cut by in future years. Michael may be able to enlighten us later on. But I think importantly, putting patients and parents' needs first. Introducing such a change in Scotland would enable us to do far more with less. And in the years ahead, that is what we're going to have to do. So I hope that all political parties in Scotland will at least consider these ideas and hopefully implement some of them. Thank you very much.
To take up that challenge, I'm very pleased to welcome Murdo Fraser. And Murdo, as you walk to the platform, I notice we've got 3 reserved seats here. If they're not required, perhaps we could take the labels off and invite anybody that's desperate for a seat to come forward to the front row and sit down.
Along to this Reform Fringe meeting, I think I should just start by saying a few words in praise of Reform, which does so much valuable work, as I think now the leading and most influential think tank in Scotland. And Reform is a relatively new organisation, set up just I think a couple of years ago. It already has established itself on the political scene in Scotland and presented some very robust reports. You might have seen, some of you this week, the report done on Quangos, which was published, got a great deal of publicity and a very favourable response from the press. And I think people like Ben Thompson and Amanda and the team from Reform, many of whom are here, have done a tremendous job in raising the level of the political debate in Scotland. I know that Reform is very anxious always to tell us it's not a Tory front organisation, despite employing people with very good Tory credentials. Nevertheless, it is, I think, reassuring to us in the Conservative Party that Scotland's leading think tank today is one that comes from a market perspective and is looking at developing solutions from the right of the political spectrum. I think that's something we very much welcome. Other areas we must look at where providing universal benefits to everybody are simply not going to be affordable in the future, and we need to target that money more effectively. But that's only part of the picture, because that's only really part of the answer. We have to look at how we run our public services, how we configure them. And our approach to the budget was this year to say, we want the Scottish Government to set up an independent review body, which has now been set up, and it will be chaired by Crawford Beveridge, the former Chief Executive of Scottish Enterprise. And he and his team will look at the whole public sector in Scotland and try and find ways of finding savings and running the budget more efficiently. The equivalent exercise was done in Ireland. They set up a body which was colloquially called Board SNP. And Board SNP's job was to look at the public sector and find out how savings could be made. And as some of you will know, they proposed a 20% across the board cut in public sector salaries. And that was, as you might expect, hugely controversial. I don't expect necessarily that the Beveridge Review will propose the same in Scotland, but we'll be interested to see what actually comes out.